Welcome to Worth Coin. What if the change hiding in a forgotten drawer could secretly be the most exciting coin you have ever owned? Every single day, millions of people spend quarters without giving them a second glance. Yet one particular 1973p Washington quarter has inspired endless conversations among collectors searching for that one extraordinary discovery. Some stories surrounding this coin mention breathtaking values reaching as high as $73 million. But what makes this ordinary-looking quarter so fascinating is the mystery behind why collectors examine every tiny detail before deciding whether it belongs in circulation or inside a collection. Stay with me until the very end, because after we uncover every secret surrounding the 1973p quarter, we will move on to another quarter that has its own unbelievable mystery waiting to be revealed. And trust me, you will never look at your pocket change the same way again. Now let's talk about the number that grabs everyone's attention first. Across social media, online discussions, and collector rumors, some people have claimed that an exceptional 1973p quarter could be worth as much as $73 million under extraordinary circumstances. Whether those incredible numbers are rumor, speculation, or part of the excitement surrounding rare coins, they have motivated thousands of people to search through old jars, inherited collections, dresser drawers, piggy banks, and even cash register trays hoping to discover something special. And before we continue, make sure you stay until the end, because the next quarter in this series has a completely different story that surprises almost everyone who hears it. Long before anyone imagined unbelievable values attached to this coin, the 1973p Washington quarter was simply another coin produced for everyday commerce. Americans used it to buy groceries, pay for gasoline, feed vending machines, and receive change at neighborhood stores. Very few people stopped to admire the portrait or think about the journey each quarter would take through thousands of hands over decades of circulation. That ordinary beginning is exactly what makes the possibility of finding an exceptional example so exciting. History has shown that coins considered completely ordinary at the time of their release can later become favorites among collectors because of tiny differences that most people never notice. Imagine a young family in 1973 receiving fresh rolls of quarters from a local bank. They spend nearly every coin during the week without paying attention, but perhaps one especially sharp example slips into a dresser drawer where it remains untouched for decades. Years later, a grandchild cleaning the house discovers the forgotten coin and wonders whether it is simply 25 cents or something far more interesting. That possibility is one of the reasons coin collecting remains so fascinating. Every old container of change represents a small mystery waiting to be solved. Collectors carefully inspect the 1973p quarter for characteristics that separate ordinary pieces from potentially desirable ones. The first thing they examine is overall preservation. A coin that escaped circulation and still displays bright original luster immediately attracts more attention than one worn smooth after decades of everyday use. Next comes strike quality. Some quarters left the mint with exceptionally crisp details in Washington's hair, the eagle, and the lettering, while others appear softer because of differences in the striking process. Even small improvements in detail can make a significant difference when collectors compare examples side by side. Then comes the hunt for unusual minting mistakes. Perhaps the most exciting part of searching through old quarters is knowing that tiny production errors occasionally escape quality control. Enthusiasts inspect coins under magnification looking for doubled lettering, off-center strikes, die cracks, misplaced design elements, filled dies, unusual surface textures, dramatic misalignments, or other unexpected characteristics. Every unusual feature creates another question. Is it genuine? Is it rare? Could it be one of only a handful known? Those questions fuel countless hours of searching through coin rolls and inherited collections. The excitement becomes even greater because millions of people unknowingly spend coins every day without checking them carefully. Somewhere, a forgotten collection could still contain an extraordinary 1973 P quarter waiting for someone curious enough to examine it. Imagine sitting at a kitchen table with a magnifying glass while opening an old coffee can filled with decades of accumulated change. One quarter after another appears completely ordinary until suddenly one catches the light differently. The details seem sharper, the surfaces brighter, the lettering stronger. Your heart begins racing because every collector knows that incredible discoveries often begin with a simple feeling that one coin looks different from the rest. That moment of anticipation is impossible to replace. Whether the coin ultimately proves valuable or not, the excitement of the search is part of what keeps collectors returning again and again. Auction stories also contribute to the fascination surrounding older quarters. Whenever a beautifully preserved coin appears before serious collectors, competitive bidding can quickly transform an ordinary object into something everyone wants. The combination of rarity, eye appeal, historical significance, and collector demand creates an atmosphere where remarkable prices become possible for truly exceptional pieces. Every headline about an impressive sale inspires thousands more people to search their own collections, wondering whether they may have overlooked something remarkable for years. Another reason the 1973 P quarter continues attracting attention is that it represents a period of American history remembered by millions of people still alive today. Unlike ancient coins locked behind museum glass, this is a coin that grandparents may remember spending themselves. That personal connection adds emotional value beyond simple rarity. Holding one is like holding a small piece of everyday American life frozen in time. As decades pass, fewer pristine examples remain because circulation naturally wears away the finest details. That reality encourages collectors to preserve outstanding coins whenever they encounter them. Even experienced collectors admit that the thrill of finding an unusually attractive quarter never disappears. Every search offers another opportunity for surprise. Every inherited collection tells another story. Every forgotten coin jar could contain an overlooked treasure. And while most quarters will remain worth only their face value, the possibility of discovering something exceptional keeps the hobby alive generation after generation. Perhaps the greatest lesson from the 1973 P quarter is that appearances can be deceiving. Something small enough to disappear into your pocket can spark curiosity, preserve history, inspire research, and bring together collectors from around the world who share the excitement of the hunt. Before you spend another quarter without looking, take a closer glance. Examine the date, inspect the details, and appreciate the craftsmanship that has survived for decades. You never know what story your next coin may tell. And don't leave just yet, because our next quarter introduces another mystery that collectors love discussing. Its story unfolds in a completely different way, with details that could change how you view another everyday coin forever. If today's journey made you curious, you're going to want to see what comes next, because the next coin has its own unforgettable surprise waiting to be uncovered. Next, 1976 P quarter dollar. Imagine reaching into an old family coin jar and pulling out a quarter that most people would immediately spend without a second thought, only to discover that collectors have been fascinated by it for years because of the mysteries surrounding its creation. The 1976 P Washington Bicentennial Quarter is one of the most recognizable coins ever produced in the United States. Yet hidden among the billions that entered circulation are stories of unusual examples that have sparked endless conversations throughout the coin collecting world. Some rumors have suggested astonishing values reaching as high as $76 million for an extraordinary specimen under extraordinary circumstances. And while stories like these fuel excitement across the internet, the real thrill comes from understanding why this coin continues to capture attention nearly half a century after it was minted. If you thought the last quarter had an incredible story, stay with me, because this bicentennial coin holds secrets that make collectors inspect every single detail before deciding whether they have found something truly special. The first thing that makes the 1976 P quarter different from nearly every other Washington quarter is that it was created to celebrate America's bicentennial. Instead of carrying a single date, it proudly displays the dual date 1776 to 1976, instantly separating it from ordinary circulating quarters. Millions of Americans recognized it the moment they received one in change because the reverse design featured a colonial drummer instead of the familiar eagle, creating one of the most memorable quarter designs ever released. Children saved them because they looked different. Adults tucked them into drawers as souvenirs of an important national celebration. Decades later, many of those forgotten coins remain hidden inside old collections, waiting to be rediscovered. That alone makes the bicentennial quarter exciting, but collectors know that appearance is only the beginning of the story. Every year at coin shows and online auctions, enthusiasts carefully examine 1976 P quarters looking for the tiny differences that separate an ordinary example from one worthy of serious attention. A sharp strike is one of the first qualities experts notice. The folds in the drummer's clothing, the details of the drum itself, the lettering around the rim, and Washington's portrait all reveal clues about how well the coin was struck. The strongest examples immediately stand apart because every design element appears crisp and well-defined, almost as if the coin had just left the mint yesterday. Condition also plays an enormous role. A quarter that spent decades bouncing through cash registers, vending machines, purses, and pockets naturally develops scratches, contact marks, and worn details. By comparison, a coin preserved in an original roll or carefully stored away since the day it was received can still display brilliant mint luster that flashes under the light. That beautiful shine is one of the first things collectors hope to see because it suggests the coin escaped the harsh life that most circulating quarters experienced. Of course, one of the biggest attractions surrounding the 1976 P quarter is the endless search for mint errors. Every collector dreams about discovering something unusual that somehow slipped through quality control decades ago. Some carefully inspect the lettering, hoping to spot doubling. Others search for dramatic die cracks stretching across the design. Some look for off-center strikes, clipped planchets, filled dies, unusual surface textures, die chips, or other production anomalies that make one coin stand apart from millions of ordinary examples. Every unusual mark raises exciting questions. Was it created during the minting process? Is it genuinely rare? Could there be only a handful like it? Those questions transform a routine coin search into an unforgettable adventure. Imagine opening an old cigar box inherited from a grandparent who never threw away unusual coins. Inside are dozens of bicentennial quarters collected simply because they look different from normal quarters. At first glance, they all appear identical, but as sunlight reflects across their surfaces, one catches your eye. The strike looks sharper. The luster seems brighter. The details appear stronger than the others. Suddenly, what began as an ordinary afternoon becomes a treasure hunt filled with anticipation. You reach for a magnifying glass and begin comparing every tiny detail, wondering whether this could be the discovery collectors dream about for years. Stories like these are repeated throughout the collecting community because remarkable finds often begin with someone deciding to look more closely than everyone else. Auction excitement has also helped keep interest in bicentennial quarters alive. Whenever an exceptionally preserved example appears before determined collectors, competitive bidding reminds everyone that quality matters. Two coins with the same date can have dramatically different appeal depending on preservation, eye appeal, strike quality, and rarity. That reality encourages collectors to examine every quarter they encounter because exceptional examples become harder to find as more time passes. The passage of decades has naturally reduced the number of pristine coins surviving in untouched condition. Every scratch, every trip through circulation, and every accidental drop slowly removes another potential high-grade specimen from the population. This gradual disappearance makes beautifully preserved examples increasingly fascinating to collectors who appreciate coins that appear almost untouched by time. The bicentennial quarter also carries something beyond collector interest. It represents a celebration of American history that united an entire nation during a milestone anniversary. Millions of families remembered receiving these quarters in their pocket change and deciding to save a few simply because they looked special. Those small decisions created countless family stories that continue today as children and grandchildren rediscover those forgotten keepsakes. Sometimes the greatest treasure is not simply the coin itself, but the memories attached to it. Even experienced collectors admit there is something uniquely satisfying about holding a bicentennial quarter. The special reverse design, the dual date, and the historical significance combine to create a coin that feels different from almost every other modern quarter. That emotional connection helps explain why interest has never completely faded despite the enormous number originally produced. Every time someone searches through a roll of quarters from the bank, there is hope that one especially beautiful example may still be waiting among the ordinary pieces. The lesson behind the 1976 P quarter is simple but powerful. Never assume that a familiar coin has nothing interesting to offer. History, craftsmanship, condition, rarity, and collector demand can transform even the most common-looking piece of pocket change into an object of fascination. So before you spend your next bicentennial quarter, take a closer look. Examine the drummer, inspect the date, admire the details, and remember that every coin carries a story far greater than its face value. Whether your discovery becomes a treasured keepsake or simply deepens your appreciation for coin collecting, the search itself is always worthwhile. Thank you for joining this journey through two remarkable quarters whose stories continue inspiring collectors around the world. The next time you hear coins jingling in your pocket, you may wonder whether one of them has been quietly waiting for you to notice it all along.